Hi there, my name is Jonathan Baumgart. I'm the CEO of Atomiq Consulting. In this video, I want to provide my feedback on the currency union, often referred to as BRICS. So this video will be slightly different from the videos I've made in the past, which have tended to focus just on Forex and CFDs. I'd like to make more content that focuses on topics a bit more general, but still in the realm of banking, finance, and investments. And given my experience in currency trading and my background, I thought I could provide a very educated, well-informed opinion as a subject matter expert when it comes to BRICS. So I wanted to share my thoughts in this video on what I think of BRICS and what I think the realities of this are versus what is often hyped in the media. So to get started, I think it's worth providing my background. Now, I began my career in 2005 working at a retail FX broker. And since that time, I've basically had exchange rates kind of tattooed into my brain. I mean, I can close my eyes at any point and tell you the exchange rates for many of the major currency pairs: gold, Bitcoin, oil. This is just what I do. It's what I look at day in and day out. So given that background, I think I have what you may consider a subject level expertise on currencies versus a reporter or some layman who just ran across this term and is deciding to comment because it's a hot thing to talk about. So with that in mind, I want to let you know my opinion, and we'll start with what I think of BRICS. Okay, so if you actually do the research, BRICS did not start out like the European Union did. It was actually just a name by a Goldman Sachs employee who was trying to describe a group of emerging economies and what may happen in the future. Now, it has since evolved into somewhat of a loose organization, but it's important to note that BRICS was not something that was originally planned, but kind of evolved over time, which is one reason why I don't think it is as legitimate as a European currency union or other currency unions out there. So in my viewpoint, I do not think BRICS is at all a threat to the US dollar for the simple reason that whether you like it or not, the US dollar is the top currency. It is not going away anytime soon. Now, how can I make such a statement with that confidence? Well, what currency is number two? Okay, you can say the euro. But how circulated is the euro? If I'm in South America and I have euros, yeah, I guess I can exchange them. But dollars, that gets you anywhere in the world. And it's going to be like that for some time. Chinese yuan, Indian rupees, rubles. Try to purchase anything in different parts of the world with these currencies that are not in their native countries. It is very difficult. The truth of the matter is, and I'm open to any other feedback, if you can provide a cogent argument that explains to me with detail what currency would replace the dollar or is even close to it. The British pound? No. The Canadian dollar? I mean, that's really it. After that, the currencies that you can think of become less and less possible. Now, I've heard people say that, oh, they're going to start pricing oil in Chinese yuan. I haven't seen that yet. And if they did, so what? I mean, most people are still going to look at oil priced in dollars anyway. Just because it's priced in yuan doesn't mean too much. And for that matter, if you look at most currencies in the Middle East, almost all of them are pegged to the dollar anyway. And the US is now one of the largest producers of oil. So if you think that some kind of future petro alternative will be there, I just don't see it happening. Now, many people say, oh, well, the dollar is becoming weaker due to purchasing power. Yes, that's true, but still there is no replacement. Perhaps Bitcoin, but I don't think Bitcoin is ubiquitous enough and it's not part of BRICS anyway. If there were any kind of alternative, I would look more at gold or Bitcoin than another currency to replace it, let alone a union. So the fact of the matter is there is absolutely no replacement to the dollar. The dollar is king, and just because the Federal Reserve of the United States is circulating more dollars does not make the dollar weaker, because the number one thing you'll learn about currencies if you're new is currencies are relative, okay? If there's only one currency in the world, it wouldn't have a value. Look at Bitcoin, for example. You're always looking at Bitcoin in terms of dollars, right? Or euros or whatever. The same thing is, yes, the dollar is strong, but relative or against which currency? Currencies are relative. You're always comparing one to another. Yeah, right now, gold is quite strong against the dollar, but you're making a comparison. There is simply no currency that can even remotely match the dollar. Now, the second point I'm going to make is on the idea of a currency union. Okay, so the idea behind BRICS is that these countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, will form a union together to compete with the dollar. Well, good luck with that. Okay, if you have studied the history of the euro, which only began in 1999, and we don't know how long it will last, that was a rough and tumble history. It is not easy at all to adopt a global or a pan-country type of currency. You have to give up a lot. As just one example, Italy used to be on the lira. Now, Italy happens to be a country that exports things like leather jackets, food, other types of items that are sensitive to prices. So before the euro, if the Italian economy was in a bit of trouble, the central bank could intervene and weaken the lira to make these exports more attractive. That is no longer the case, as the interest rate policy is essentially run by the Bundesbank. I mean, the ECB runs it, but more or less it's Germany that are dictating the rules. So now Italy does not have this autonomy, nor any other Europe member. They must do collectively what was the best. And during the great financial crisis, you saw how that really made a lot of headaches for different EU members who adopted the euro. Not all European Union members are on the euro. So with BRICS in mind, it is going to be a challenge to get all of these countries to agree on a common currency. And what doesn't help is the leaders of these countries are, for lack of a better term and to be as nice as possible, let's say autocratic in nature. So imagine the leaders of these countries all sitting down at a table. Which currency are you going to give up? Do you think India wants to give up its rupee? No way. China won't give up the yuan. But if you want to make a currency union, you have to do that. Okay, fine. Not necessarily. You can make a basket of currencies, right? You could take these four, the yuan, the ruble, the rupee, and create a basket. But now you have to come up with the percentage, okay? So China says, oh, I should represent 50% because the Chinese economy is stronger. But Russia says, no way, we have a much stronger economy. So you see the problem here? Even if you were to take a basket of currencies, it will be a challenge because none of these countries will easily agree on what that amount or percentage should be. All of them feel their country is the best, so they're all going to say 100%. And let's just say they did. Let's entertain the idea that they were able to create this currency basket. Because these currencies are not stable, they're subject to geopolitical fluctuations, regime change. What happens when one of them in the market outside of this basket becomes weaker? For example, what if another pandemic were to hit China more harshly than other countries? Now, I hate to use that as an example, but it's just something recent. China will get hit harder. So then you need to revisit the basket and tweak the percentages because you can't adopt. I mean, it is impossible for any of these countries to ever adopt their own currency. So this basket will constantly have to be tweaked. You'll then have to go into each country, scrap the original currency, create this brick currency that will constantly have fluctuating values based on whatever the market is. And keep in mind, you also have to apply to market forces. So if you are going to put this currency up against others, well, it can be bought and sold, and exchange rate will be made. So with all the best intentions in the world, this currency could be significantly shorted in value and dropped in value and just cause so many economic problems I can't even think about. So if you were to just kind of sit down, avoid headlines that say, oh, BRICS is going to replace the dollar, and just think about it for a moment, you will see many of these issues and challenges that I'm outlining here. So to sum up, the reason why I do not perceive BRICS to be a major threat to the dollar are two. First, the dollar is the king by far. There is no currency set to replace it. There's no country that wants to replace the dollar. Feel free if you can share or prove otherwise, but this is the opinion I stand by. Secondly, using the Eurozone as a litmus test or as an example, it is very, very difficult to create a common currency. It is very hard to get everyone to agree, and these countries will face massive difficulties trying to get everyone to agree on a common currency, on the exchange rate, on a basket, even just sitting down in a room and planning this out. So in my view, I think BRICS is just headlines, is hype, is just out there to generate clicks. But if you're to sit down and give it some proper analysis, you will find it is just a mirage in terms of its threat to the dollar. So I wish to thank you for checking out this video. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this new series of videos, let me know if you'd like my opinion on another subject in the comments. And I'd be happy to consider the feedback and maybe produce that video or others along this line. So I wish to thank you for your time. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.